Hey, Townies, welcome back. I'm sitting here with Ken. Ken, how you doing today?
Hey, it's great to be back, Phil. Great to be back.
Good. So today, we were talking a little bit before the show about happiness.
What it is to be happy.
What it is that makes a man, I can't speak for women, but I can speak for men, I think.
Yes.
In a part.
And then men have their views of what make women happy, and most of the time, I don't think it's all that.
I don't think they know.
Yes.
So we're just going to let that alone.
Yes.
We're going to let that alone.
That'll be
for
another
today.
conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. And we'll get like my sister and her friend, me and you and Brett and maybe Jolisa, and we'll just have a big sit down powwow about relationships with men and women.
We'll just watch that spiral downward.
Yeah, you're going to, it's going to go, it's probably not going to go well. She might not talk to me for a couple days, but I love her. So, but yeah, back to happiness. I think, what makes you happy? Well,
like I told you, I think it's relationships, and I mean, you brought up it's deeper than just relationships.
I think it is. I think it's like when we were talking, you were like, well, I asked you the question, and you were like, it's my wife. You know, the relationship I have with my wife makes me happy.
To me, it's that partnership with her, though.
Yeah, and
especially if you have no family, really.
Right, and then I broke it down a little further, and I said, well, it's all the relationships you have in your life, not just with your wife, but it's all of them. So it's the people that you want to have relationships with, like friends and family and your wife and your children. I believe that's what makes your life worthwhile.
And that's where you really have to filter out the toxic people in your life.
Yes, because
and it doesn't take long, because these people with drama and all that, and it just builds and builds and builds.
Oh, it does. And you know the drama people, because they'll have drama one day, and then it'll be gone for a few weeks or a month, and then it's back. And then it keeps coming back. It's like a circle. They just got to have it in their life all the time.
And it seems like nothing ever makes them happy.
Right.
And then we were talking about the fact of people with whether it's money or the best car or whatever it is.
Yeah, I got a great story for that.
Material items.
Mm-hmm. I got a great.
Those people were never happy.
No, I got a great story for that. So there's someone I know. We're just going to leave it at that. Came into a pile of money and worked his whole life for it, and realized the little light bulb went off. Realized, well, it's not everything it's cracked up to be. What did I miss? Right? What did I miss? Because I'm all for, like, men have to have goals. They have to have things they do, regardless of what it is. It could be out working.
Well, it's not easy for men, and people don't understand that.
No, it's not.
You always have to be striving to be better.
Yes.
And we all make mistakes along the way.
Yes, like a good example for a man, that's a great point, is what's the definition of a man? Like, what does he do? He always strives to be better than he was the day before.
Correct.
That's what a guy's ultimate goal is every day throughout his life.
It's what it should be.
Yes, meaning read books, you take care of your home, you learn new things. You have to be like that. Otherwise, I will say an idle man is a dangerous man. He's just a dangerous person. If he sits there and does nothing and has no goals, no ambitions, no nothing, that's a dangerous person in my mind, because then he's going to go down a path that you should never go down.
No. And what you said, if your mind's not working constantly, then what is?
Yeah, right? What makes me happy is the relationship I have with my girlfriend, the relationship I have with my sister and my mother and my father. Not so much my dad, because my dad moved to Florida and I don't talk to him that much, but it is important to me. My son is hugely important to me, and the relationship that he and I have, I think, is a really good dynamic, because anything that really happens in his life, being 21, even before that, he always would present to me his whatever was going on with his life, I guess for my advice, or just to talk, which I'm all for. Like sitting here with you, sitting here with Brett, that's important to me. That makes my life happy. And it doesn't mean, like, I'm in my late 40s, so money's not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be.
And we talked about that. When we go out, we don't worry about when you go to a restaurant. You order what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I can go to a restaurant and her and I go, and I don't care what the bill is.
And part of that is our children are older.
Yes, that enabled me to be financially stable after they left the home.
Because, when your children's younger, a lot of the young parents get caught up with doing vacations and stuff. When you come back off your vacation, you're more tired than when you left to go on vacation, and you're actually glad to go back to work.
Correct, because you're chasing the kids around the airport. They're in the car for hours. You're going waiting in lines. It's a nightmare. I mean, I've done it. It is an absolute nightmare.
And most young people don't understand that, and that's the stuff that drives wedges in the young families.
Yeah, because you're like, well, and you'll hear this from the women. You'll be like, well, I want to take them. They got to go to Disney or they got to go to this park. I'm like, and I remember this, and like with my son, and I was like, he's 5. Like I remember going to, I don't remember. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like my parents took me to Disney World when I was 5 years old. I have no idea that I ever went, so why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Why am I going to go spend all that money for a memory that he's not going to have?
Well, and like we talked about earlier on some of the stuff that, nowadays kids might be 5 years old with a phone taking pictures, but they won't have them pictures when they're 15.
Yeah, you're right.
At least now we could at least look back at the pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, I got boxes full of pictures when I was little.
Yeah, I will say
Christmases.
I will do like I'll take pictures and I'll print them out on Shutterfly and I'll have them. And I keep people probably they don't know this about me, but I keep a keepsake box.
Okay, and it's very smart.
It's a big box. It's about this big, right? I don't know, 2 foot by 2 foot, whatever. And a lot of it's like my favorite things on the planet that I've acquired.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It's like my favorite photos. I had a favorite T-shirt, and it got to the point where if I kept wearing it, it was just going to be, I couldn't wear it no more. So I put that in the box. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my favorite things, like some of the things Noah drew for me when he was a little kid.
And that'd be really neat when he finds it when you,
But I kept that, and I still put things in it to this day.
It's like a Phil time capsule.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it kind of is.
We'll find a spot in the yard.
But you notice what's not in the box? Guess what's not in the box?
What's that?
Anything that has to do with any kind of money.
There you go. Yep.
Nothing that to do with any kind of money.
No, but what you have there is priceless.
Right. So you find happiness in things that are not that doesn't have to do with nothing material.
Yeah. Well, they're material, but it's a different type of, it ain't like you could do a Rolex in there.
No.
Which,
don't get me wrong, I'd love to have like a family heirloom like that to pass down through the generations. I would kill to have that.
Yeah.
But again, I would never drop a check on that, ever.
Yeah, you wouldn't run out and buy one to make it something like that.
No, I couldn't afford it, number one. Number two, I wouldn't, if I could afford it, I wouldn't spend the money on that.
Yeah.
There's other things I could do.
And that comes back to what is happiness.
Yeah, right? What is it? What is it to you?
And to me, I have really gotten rid of people out of my life that I consider toxic.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, and it takes you forever to do that, though.
It takes you forever to realize what's happening and how it affects you.
And not just that, though. It also, sometimes you're trapped in environments that you cannot get out of. Like working in certain situations. You're at work during a career.
You're stuck with that person every day.
You're stuck with that person.
Every day for years. I agree with that. That's really difficult.
And then you might take that home with you.
Oh, yeah. Or at least the aura that person had while you were there is going to affect you when you go home.
You just spent 8 hours with
them. And then you think about it and you get up the next day and you got to go do all that over again. It's rough. It is. It's really hard. I agree with you 100% with that. So, as far as happiness to me is a nice, clean home, a reliable vehicle, right? Because I got to go to work. And the relationships I have.
To me, that all contributes to happiness.
Yeah.
To me,
it makes it better.
Yeah. To me, the bare basics of happiness is your health.
Absolutely.
If you're waking up with a headache every day, or if you're waking up with back pains or certain things, then that gets old.
Yeah.
If you wake up and you can't do what you did yesterday.
Oh yeah, that'd be difficult.
I mean, it'd
be very difficult.
Then relationships, that's where a partner relationship really comes into it.
Oh, absolutely.
You need that person as you age. And that's something you don't realize when you're young.
Oh, I agree with that.
Everybody laughs about the big thing now, dying old cat lady or whatever. Them cats are not going to take care of you.
No, they won't. They won't.
No.
And a cat, this is a funny story. I got a funny story about a cat. So This lady passed away. She was elderly. She had a house full of cats. You know what the cats did?
Yeah, I can imagine.
They ate her.
Yeah, they got hungry.
They got hungry.
And what people don't understand, usually animals start on the softest spot first.
Yes. So, yeah, like cheeks, you know what I mean? That's why, but a dog will lay beside you and
mourn, basically.
Mourn, and probably, if nobody comes, it's going to die with you.
Yep, and protect you too, though.
And protect you, right? Where a cat will eat you.
Yep.
Remember that, people.
Dogs have
Remember
owners.
that.
You know, dogs have protected owners when, you know, like EMTs are trying to get them out of the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got to call somebody to come get the dog.
Yep.
Mine would have been like that. You this
you
is
could
a
have been
funny
laying
story.
on the floor. You could have been laying on the floor needing CPR or something.
Yeah.
And that dog would have protected you till the end.
So this is a funny story. I got a funny story about that. So I had I still mountain bike a good bit, and I was going down the street to try out my bike because I got a new bike, and I had the dog on a leash. Well, I came around this turn, and when I came around the turn, there was a car, and I clipped the car, and I flipped over the handlebars, and I let go of the dog, and I had a pit bull. He's a 100-pound pit bull, and I just laid there because, you know, I mean, he didn't run over me. I just hit the car and flipped over the bike, and I had a helmet on, so I mean, I just kind of laid there. And, you know, at our age, you just kind of lay there and you just start moving body parts slow at a time.
Make sure nothing's broke.
Man, am I all right? You know what I mean? Well, why I did that, and it kind of like, I saw stars, you know, so I was kind of like, ooh, you know, out of it for a sec. And the lady got out of the car, and my dog was standing over me, barking at that person, would not let anyone come near me.
Yep.
And that sold me on that dog.
And what's neat about that dog knows you're injured too.
Yeah.
And that's a pack mentality.
Yeah, he would not let anybody come near me.
Yep.
And he stood right over top of me. And
because he knows you're wounded. And
he did that.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, like it's the best breed I've ever had in my life. People can say what they want about pit bulls, but that dog, man, best dog I've ever owned.
But that's why I say between health and relationship, a good healthy partner.
Yeah.
You know, as you age together, that is what defines.
You've been married though. How long now?
27 years.
Ooh, that's a long time.
That's what I'm saying. As you age together, it's something precious.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
You know,
I think you're very lucky for that. Don't ever think that you're not. You are. You're very lucky.
Well, like I said, we all have our issues. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to get through those issues is more than a task itself. Like you said,
Took a lot of work.
Relationships take a lot of work.
They all do. Friends, family.
Yes. And then what
Wives.
that comes back down to is you just got to work together on it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You have to work together. I mean, we'll get to the divorce rate, you know, that's just crazy.
Oh, it's horrible now. What is it? I think you got a 40% chance of surviving in a marriage now.
Yeah. It just.
And 80% of the women are the ones who are filing for divorce, right? I think it's right around there.
Yeah, and then it just goes downhill quick when it comes to relationships. I mean, if you wrote it out as a contract, this is what I try to explain to some guys. If you wrote it out as a business contract, and instead of putting him or her and all that, and it's technically not a contract between the man and the woman, it's usually the man and the state.
Correct.
Yep, it's a contract between the man and the state because the state is what's going to step in if anything happens to a situation between a man and a woman.
That's true.
If you wrote it, there would be nobody would sign that business contract if you did it like a corporation.
No, they wouldn't.
Not any man.
No. Well, the only way I could say that it would be if you didn't have children, then it's different.
Yes.
If you don't have children, then the contract you make with that woman is a lot different than what it is once you have children. As a man, but you don't have any really rights.
Yeah. Nowadays, most men are stepping into relationship with women with already children now.
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have no rights. Zero.
That's what I'm saying. If you add that to it before you even sign that contract, it'd probably be even less.
Oh, yeah, it's way less.
And signing that contract and jumping into that, I don't know how certain men can expect happiness.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I mean, the first thing you're going to have right off the top, the first thing you're going to run into is having to discipline them children. Is she going to let you discipline them children the way that...
I can tell you from my experience is that I didn't want to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to. Like, no.
I've seen it in both situations, though, where Some women, they're fine with that new boyfriend or whatever.
They are coming in, and you're their new dad.
Yeah, then other ones where you can't say nothing to them.
That's true too.
I've seen that also.
Yeah,
I've seen where a guy disciplines a child, and then a woman comes around right behind him, and then
like, you're not talking to me like that. You know what I mean? Like,
and then it takes the kid automatically off the punishment.
Yeah, I've seen that. I have.
So if you're stepping into something like that, how would you ever expect happiness in a relationship? Should you have filtered yourself out of that one first?
Yeah, I'd say that'd be very difficult.
You know,
you're right. It's very difficult.
I mean, only thing there you're hoping for is your health.
Yeah, right. And someone to take care of you, if you can survive that long.
And then the other thing is you have the people, like you said, happiness, which buy things constantly. I mean, how many people where every 3 years they buy a new truck?
Oh yeah, and trucks nowadays, dear God, are they expensive?
Every 3 years, a new truck.
Oh my God, like $70,000 for a truck. That's $1,000 a month.
I mean, is it
that's
really?
That's a mortgage.
Yeah, it's a mortgage. So, I mean, is it really an endorphin rush for that initial year? Is that what you're getting out of that?
I don't know. You're right though. Yeah. It'll make you feel good for 6 months, and then you're stuck with the payment for 6 years. And
then you usually trade it in within 3 years anyway. It seems like most of them do.
You just automatically have that car payment forever.
So that materialistic lifestyle.
And that vehicle depreciates. So you're buying a liability, not an asset. So if the rule here is put your money in assets, not in liabilities. Yeah. So like, here's a great example. So I could go out and I could purchase a vehicle and write a check for it. Why would I do that? Because how long was it going to take me to save that money back up? Where you're better off just making payments on it. I mean, you really are. You're just better off. So if you need a vehicle, you make payments on it. Don't put down a lot of cash. Don't put down any if you don't have to. I would not put down one freaking dollar on a damn vehicle, because as soon as you drive it, it's worth 20% less than what you paid.
Yeah, it rolls right off the...
Right? And number 2 is never buy a brand new one. Yep. Never, ever buy a brand new vehicle.
It used to be, they said, depreciated $4,000 rolling off the lot.
Yeah, it does. So never, ever buy a brand new vehicle, and always get a used one. And you know what? Just get something that's reliable. And you know the names for them. I mean, I don't have to tell you the names. Everybody knows what vehicles are reliable. And if you don't know, man, they got this thing called Google and AI. It will tell you. You know what I mean? Yeah. It will definitely tell you what's reliable. But yeah, you're 100% right. So
material, like you said,
like they're when they go to buy that truck, they are fulfilling something in their life that they're lacking.
Yeah, materialistic things will not make you happy.
Oh, no, never. It took me a long time to learn that. It did. I'm not lying. It took me a long time to learn that. I thought the more I worked, and honestly, I'll say this. I worked 2 jobs forever. Yep. Forever. But that was to survive. That wasn't to get ahead. I didn't get ahead.
Yep, and that was just, you're correct. That was to survive.
That was to survive. And to survive to me meant, with having a son, I was like, well, I want him to see that I bought a house. I want him to see this. I want him to see what to do, right?
And now, as you said, buying a house, that is part of happiness as far as I'm concerned.
Me too.
And today's kids probably won't have that opportunity.
No, right? I'll give you a great example of that. So my niece works at a school in Frederick, Maryland, along with her fiance. And they're both teachers. They both make $50,000 a year, right? So together, they're grossing, not bringing home, they're grossing $100,000. After taxes, they're probably bringing home 50.
Yeah.
Their rent is $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment.
That's Frederick County?
And it's down in Frederick.
Yeah.
So they're going to move back here where the cost of living is way cheaper. The salary will be the same, if not more.
And then get that reliable beater and run up and down the road.
Well, no. Well, they're going to apply to be teachers back here just for that reason, so they can live a better quality of a life. So at least to me, a quality of a life is what's your environment like, right? Where do you live?
Once again, that's unhappiness though, huh?
Right. Yeah. So if you think, and a lot of people are horrible with change, and I'm sure you and I have issues with change. I think everybody has issues with change. But you have to really look at yourself and understand yourself on what's going to make you happy. And here's the great thing about life is you can try it, and if it doesn't make you happy, you can try something else. You know what I mean? Like, here's a great example. Say you live in New York City, and you are sick and tired of living that type of lifestyle with go, living in a box, 400 square feet for $3,000 a month.
Smelling like sour milk all the
you know,
time.
the crime and the violence. And you're like, I would love to find a place out in the country where I could go find a job, have a nice little house, and then you go try it. And because you think you may like it. And then when you get there, you have to give yourself a lot of time to adjust, because it's going to be a huge adjustment. But say after 5 years, you're not quite there, then you find something else, you know, and you just keep going until you find your particular happiness that makes you happy. But the point is if you don't make an effort to do it, you're never going to be there. You're just going to survive.
Along with that, I think a lot of people just don't put enough foresight in this stuff.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like what you're saying there is to, you know, plan, if I'm not here, I'll move to there. But at the same time, we're going back to like relationships. Why would, you know, you meet this girl, you're happy, you know what, and then and she does have a couple boys. What you didn't put the foresight in is the drunk ex-husband coming over and beating on the door at 3 a.m.
So here's a great thing. Here's some great advice for young men, right? Great advice. Just because she says yes, she's not the one that's going to be yes forever.
Yeah.
She might be yes for now, right? Which is okay, because I'm a dude. I know what that's like. She might be okay for right now, but that ain't the one you're going to keep.
Yeah, you never know.
You have to really vet them and get to understand her as a person before you decide that you're going to go to a whole new level with this woman. And that's if she wants to. She might not want to either. But once you start vetting her, you're going to understand that.
Yeah, you got to find her intentions.
Yes, what she wants, what her goals are in life, what she finds, what would be fulfilling for her. And as well as you, like my son, he'll sit there and say, you know, I'd like to be married one day with kids. And I tell him, I'm like, first of all, financially, that's not a good option.
Yeah.
Number two would be, you have to find a very good traditional style woman, which is hard to find, who believes in family and children and, you know, marriage and that kind of thing. Like, you have to find someone like that.
Well, and it's hard to financially. If you start talking financially, if you put it off to you're financially stable to have children nowadays, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen.
Correct. Me and my sister just did a podcast about that. How, like, right now in our 40s, it's the happiest time in our life is now, because most of my life has been survival. It hasn't been for me. It's always been, being a guy, it's been for other people.
Yeah.
Like, I worked all this so I could provide A, B, C, D, E for my son, for his mother, for, you know, other people. It's it was never for me.
I explained that to my family too. I didn't work where I worked all them years for myself.
No.
I didn't enjoy working there.
Oh no, who would?
You know,
I mean, it's a horrible environment.
Yep, I did not enjoy it at all.
No,
I did have to maintain insurance and to make sure they had
and have money.
Yep.
Nobody aspires to do those things. Like, here's the thing too. I would say, like, even with police, there are some people who just want to do that.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of them are probably college dropouts with a good, clean record, a good background, some common sense to them, and it's a good job. So let me try that. Right? Good health care, pays a good wage without a college degree, and let's do that. But you're right. I saw this one thing on, I can't remember what podcast it was, where it was men live lives of quiet desperation.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes, I know. I've heard that term though.
Yeah, and it is so true. So men will do whatever they have to in order to provide and survive.
Right.
And that means sacrificing their happiness for financial reasons to provide for other people.
Yeah, the guy that's going out there and picking up garbage in the morning ain't doing that to screw over some woman.
No, he's not.
You know?
He's doing it to provide and make a living.
Yeah, it's not nowhere in his mind is probably, I'm going to, you know.
Yeah, or the guy going up on your roof in July.
Yep.
You know, to put on a roof to make, I don't know. Well, I guess nowadays we'll say $20 an hour, $25 an hour carrying shingles.
The bright side of his day, AI is not going to replace him.
No, ever. Yeah, that's right. Like, those type of industries, like your heating and air conditioning, electrical, carpentry, you don't have to worry.
It might replace the guy who made them shingles, but it's not going to be the guy that installs them.
Not going to replace that ever, ever. But yeah, I mean, most of your life as a man is, you know, providing for other people and survival.
Yes.
Whereas, and I've seen this most of my life with women. I can't say most of my life, but most women that I dealt with, There are a lot of exceptions. Like the one I have now is a huge exception.
When you go through
but they'll be like, well, you make plenty of money. Now I can do what I want. Right? That's the truth.
Yeah. When you go through a divorce, though, who's usually on survival mode afterwards?
Oh, the man. 100%.
And usually if he goes out and get a second job just to try and help pay his bills, they want part of that also.
They do. Because they'll pull your taxes and not
Yes.
look that you have two jobs.
Yes.
They will.
And that's just to make it by.
Mm-hmm. Survival.
I know guys living out of their trucks.
Yes. And it's getting worse.
Yep.
So I did a trip to D.C., right? Me and Chalisa went to D.C. and a friend of mine, Calvin, we went and saw Kevin Hart. And we were going through downtown D.C., and I've never seen anything like it. It was like tent city. All these little parks that are like in between a city block.
It's all tents.
Lined with tents with homeless people. And it was awful. Like I couldn't believe it.
I don't remember seeing that when we were kids. You know that?
Never saw that when we were kids. Ever. So I don't know what the hell happened. I really don't. But there is no way that should happen in our country.
Nope.
No way.
No, because you see some of the pictures of L.A. and Detroit and all that. It does look like third world countries.
Oh, San Francisco.
Philadelphia's nasty
Philly.
too.
They're all the big cities are like that now. And I can't understand why. Like, and honestly, so think about it though. You know, we sit here and we talk about like the BRICS nations and the dollar and the petrodollar.
Well, we're talking about happiness. Are those people really happy like that?
Who?
Those people living in them tents.
No, they're not happy like that. Think about it. If that was you, would you be happy?
No.
No security?
Well, once again, you know.
Like, I mean, here's the thing too, is like I worked mainly my whole life to provide for people. But along with doing that, I got security from it.
Yeah.
The older I got. So the reward afterwards. So while I was going through that from the time my son was born in 2001 to when he turned 18, I got something in return, which what I got in return was security. I get a retirement, health care, right? And then I'm still young enough I can leave and go do something else.
But see, that retirement, I bring this up to people too, especially young people. Mm-hmm. I got a job with a retirement, and that was like what you're saying for security, because I planned to be able to still take care of those other people as you age.
Yes. So like my thing with the retirement is, I mean, it's not a lot. If you have Social Security with it, you're good. If you retire early before you're 62, you still need to have an income.
Yeah.
Right? You still do. And I agree with you. Like I'll be one of those people who never stops working.
Yeah.
I will always do something. And I am not proud. I don't care what it is. I really don't. I don't care if it's putting a roof on, as long as I'm physically able to, handing out smiley faces at Walmart. I don't care.
Yep.
I have to do something, because the moment you don't do something as a guy, especially the older you get, is the moment you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that happen so many times to people who retire and then, I don't have to do nothing now. Well, 6 months, a year later,
you need that goal.
They're not here no more.
Yep, you need that goal.
You know, so as a man, you have to work. You're going to work till you die. And by the time you get older, like you could tell a 21-year-old that, and they're going to be like, oh, nah, man, nah. But by the time that comes around and you start to get near that age, you don't want to retire. You want to do stuff. You want to do something.
Well, it comes to that point where you look in the mirror and you realize, I'm an old man.
Correct.
You know?
Yes.
But in your mind, you've never felt that.
No, I still feel like I'm 20.
Yeah. And you still make the same dumb decisions like you're 20 most of the time.
Yeah, you do. Sometimes you do. That 20-year-old comes out and be like, oh, and you're like, nope.
The next morning you pay for it.
Yes, you do. That's true. That's very true, Ken. That's very true.
That's part of happiness, though, I think.
What?
Your mind stays young.
It does. I think it's a...
Your mind stays young.
Yeah, I asked my dad that, who's 80, and he said that. He goes, I still feel like I'm 25. I just look in the mirror and I see an 80-year-old man.
Yep, I think, and I
asked my mom that, too. My mom said the same thing. Yep. She's like, I still feel like I'm in my 20s, but when I look in the mirror, I see a 73-year-old woman.
I think as the mind ages, wisdom builds in, yes, but along with that wisdom, the mind still is not aging itself. You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
You just have more wisdom.
Yeah, I agree with that. I still think that you're in the 20s, like 28. That's probably a good age to say.
And I think when you're in your 30s and headed to your 40s, your body still can keep up with you to the point that your decisions just still make you seem like you're in your 20s.
Yeah. All right. To pick back up, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, so I researched this a little bit. I got online and I looked for people who were getting ready to pass away. And a lot of times, I would pretty much say every time, what they would talk about and what throughout their lives was the relationships they had and their experiences. Experiences meaning where they traveled to, what they got to experience throughout their lifetime, or their children, or their family member. So we can get on to experiences like for
being able to spend more time with certain people.
Yes, being able to wish I spent more time with my daughter, my son, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, those type of things. Or I wish I would have went here.
Yep, travel.
I had the opportunity to do it, but I just didn't.
Yeah, until I moved up this way, I didn't know there was a lot of people that had never seen the ocean.
Yeah, right. There are.
A lot of the older people have not seen the ocean.
Oh, it's beautiful. I get lost just looking at it. I love the ocean. I do, but I love where I live.
Yeah.
I love the mountains and the trees and
we're in a good
the rivers.
spot. A couple hours, you're down to the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, our state, Maryland, is a nice state when it comes to all the different things that are available, but you just have to drive. We can get down to the ocean. We can come up here to the mountains and go skiing and rivers, and we can do all of those things.
Yeah, you need just enough money to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah, so
you don't need a fortune.
No, here's some things that, like, throughout my life, I just didn't want to. Like, I never got a chance to travel or do anything. I did when I was young, because I lived in South Florida for 6 years, and I got to do a lot of things down there. Just traveling, around Florida, those kinds of things. But whenever I wound up having my son and then getting married and divorced like a year later.
You made a good decision.
Yeah, right. I worked so much that I didn't have time for any of that, because my job went from being about me to having a child and an ex-wife who I had to take care of a little bit too, was to provide. And I did that for 20 years. So now in my life, I can experience some of those things because we went on cruises, we traveled flew to Key West, I did all kinds of things. And then I got more trips coming up that I want to do. I bought an RV because I want to go out to Yellowstone.
Yeah, I drove down to Key West not long ago.
Did you?
Yeah, that's a nice drive too.
Oh, it's a long drive. But experience to me, experiences are important, which is why when her and I flew down to Key West, I went skydiving. I did it, for a bunch of reasons for myself, but one was the experience, most amazing thing I ever did in probably my life was skydiving. It was absolutely unbelievable. And yes, I would do it again. And hopefully we'll put together a trip this year with a couple people to go do that.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple people that I know that want to go do it, husband and wife. They're both turning 40, 50, and I would love to do it again.
Yeah, one of the things you got to do once.
Yes, I do believe that everybody should do that once, because it will change it'll change the way you look at life. It really will. If you were ever contemplating anything, or you got something on your mind, go skydiving. You'll realize what's important. You know what I mean? That's the truth. But yeah, back to the topic.
Terminal velocity, right?
Oh yeah, but you know what though? I will say this: it doesn't feel like you're falling.
Yeah,
you literally feel like you're Superman. Because we get you go up above the clouds, and then we drop through the clouds, and you still got the guy strapped on your back. Thank God, because he knows what he's doing. Because you just can't have function. And he'll tell you, I know you're not going to be able to function. Just enjoy the ride and the scenery.
Yeah,
and he's like, go like this. So you go like this, and I'll tell you what. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Nothing will compare to that. But back to the topic, experiences. So you have a bunch of experience that, people can't, you didn't have to pay for. The Navy gave you.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, but don't get me wrong. You had to work and you were busy, but you still got to experience things that a lot of people in their life will never be able to do unless you're extremely wealthy.
Yeah, you're correct.
Right? And that's true. You get to see things that a lot of people just don't get to see.
Yeah, one of the best stops was Israel, and I wish we can get stuff together so I can take my wife to visit Israel. That's probably one of the best places I've ever been.
I've heard that. You've told me that before. What did you like most about it? The history, or
yes, a lot of it's the history, but yet it is also so relatable to at the time period. Then it was so relatable to U.S. It's not like, I mean, it was a foreign country, yes, and you had all that, but you still had a lot of the U.S. Commercial part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
So it's not too foreign, but yet it still had all the ancient stuff around.
Oh, I love that. See, I love history.
So yeah, I mean,
You get to see the Wailing Wall.
yes, I was at the Wailing Wall,
Oh,
the Church of Holy Sepulchre. I walked into Jesus' tomb.
oh, wow.
Yep,
That's amazing.
yep, done all.
So, yeah, so you have a lot of experiences, but you didn't have to pay for it. They actually paid you,
It's correct.
which I think is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Like you got all of that experience and didn't cost you anything, which nowadays is hard
Just
to come by.
It costs time. That's about it.
Cost your time and
Yep.
effort, and sweat, and when you were sitting there working.
Yeah.
Because you were on an aircraft carrier,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. I was ABH. So yeah, I was the guy. Started out as a blue shirt, chalking and chaining.
Yeah.
Then yellow shirt, directing the planes around.
See, that's pretty cool. That's a cool job. It is. It's a cool job. We're going to have to do a topic on that. We'll do a whole show based on your military career because it's pretty cool. I think it is. I find
Thank you, Phil.
I think it's really neat.
Makes you want to go see Top Gun again, doesn't it?
I just watched it the other night. I'm not kidding. Like 2 days ago, I was like, I got to watch Maverick again.
Yeah, all my stuff. I have a flight jacket with all our squadrons and all that, and I done gave it to my daughter, and because she watches Top Gun all the time.
Oh
now.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think my son's hooked. He came
Yep.
in looking like that kid from Maverick, Rooster. He had his hair all short with his little mustache. And then what he told me? He's like, Dad, he goes, and then I went to a little league game to umpire, and the parents were looking at me all weird. I go, I wonder why, son. I go, yeah. You probably look like a freaking pedophile with your little mustache and your hair all short and your shades.
At least you didn't pull up in a white van.
Right? He's like, he goes, I felt embarrassed, so I had to fix it. So he did. It made me grin.
Yeah, and one thing in the Navy, I was happy with my job there. I was happy with what I did. But what made it unhappy was you were never home, and then therefore you didn't have the relationships. And every relationship you seen, you'd go through girlfriends, and then on top of that, you watch marriages destroyed by the military.
Oh, yeah, I bet you did.
You're always gone.
So,
so
how long were you there?
4 years.
4 years?
Yep, 4 years.
So if it wasn't for that, would you have stayed?
Oh yeah.
Would you?
Oh yeah. I enjoyed my job. I love my job.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Did you love basic?
Basic. It was, to me, it wasn't that hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it ain't like going through Marine Corps or probably the Army where you're doing these massive rucksacks. Yeah.
Yeah, going on 20-mile hikes.
Yeah. I mean, my
that's
big
true.
joke was, I wasn't handing a rifle. I was handing 2 flashlights and a whistle. Now, that's not basic, but that's my job.
Yeah, that's true. That makes me grin. I tell my son that. I have to get him down here so you can talk to him because I've been trying to get him to join the military.
There's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So I can't remember now what we were talking about.
We're back to happiness, though.
Happiness.
And
jobs.
experiences and jobs, and
Yeah.
the job made it happy, but the relationship part of it, it wasn't there, and even the pay wasn't great back then,
Yeah.
But then when I got out and then working for the state, or when you're working with any state or federal government, like we were talking about, when a recession hit, I didn't even notice a recession in 2008.
Yeah,
Never
that's
even
true.
noticed
I had
it.
no idea. Actually, in 2008, what I got was like 3% mortgage rates
Yeah.
right after that. And I
Right.
went from and this is no joke, I went from a 9% interest rate on my house back in 2005, I think, to 3.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So mortgage rates were 9% when I bought my house for the first time I bought.
You bought it just perfect because I made the mistake. I bought it just before the collapse of the housing market.
Yep.
And then I was underwater for I don't know how many years.
Oh, no, I was too.
But I don't remember it because between the job we had and the overtime and stuff that was available, you didn't even notice it,
Now, like if you have and I'll give you some, whatever it is you want to do, but I'll give you some advice. If you have a state job or a city job or a county job or a federal job, you do not even know that there's a recession. You don't know if there's a depression. You don't know any of that. The only thing that you will feel
Inflationary items.
is inflationary items.
Yep.
There, you do not have to worry about your job ever. It's depending on which part of the government you are in. So if you're in like correctional, police, any type of service part of the government, from roads to IRS to whatever.
You'll work right through that problem.
You will work right through it, and you have no worries about a job ever.
It's not shutting down.
Yeah, it's not shutting down, and that paycheck will come every 2 weeks. It will automatically be deposited in your account, and
you may be the only one doing overtime.
Yes, you can work over. Yeah, you probably get overtime. So you like when you go to the bank to apply for a loan, they love you because they know you are not losing your job.
Yep.
Right? You're not getting any points charged on your mortgage when you first get one. You don't. I mean, you're getting every benefit you can imagine just because you work for the government.
And then once again, certain state jobs, you might have had all that, but yet you weren't happy.
Yeah, or the city, or whatever. But you're right. And men, I believe, are some, I would say, even educated men who come out of college, they pick a degree, and honestly, you might not like your degree. You might hate it. And there's people I know who have degrees who hate what they do, hate it. And then you have the other spectrum, which is like me and you. We're young. You came out of the Navy. I moved back here because my mother was ill, and I took the best job I could find.
Yep.
Right. And the best job I could find was a state job. And I will never complain about working for the state of Maryland, because the state of Maryland provided me with a house, provided me with giving my son everything he needed to grow up. And at the end of the term, I get a retirement out of it, plus my health care. So, and don't get me wrong, the job sucks.
My two big things was what you just said there, though, was the benefits of the health care. That way everybody in the family's taken care of.
Correct.
And it was the best insurance you could probably get. It ain't, around.
Correct.
And the other aspect was the retirement.
Yes, you get something out of it. And the longer you stay, the more you get. But here's a great example. Like, even if you're a state trooper, you can't stay in that job for that long. You just can't, because think about this. You're dealing with horrible people. And that's the same for police, corrections, your county sheriff's departments, your city police, your ambulance guys, your fire departments, any of those line of professions. You cannot stay in that job for a long period of time.
What the average person doesn't realize is how you get desensitized to certain things.
Oh, I'm very desensitized. Like, I can sit there and, I've done it. I've seen fights happen, and I just sit there like, whatever.
Well, and you're desensitized to the average feelings also.
Yes.
I've
seen people upset and cry over stuff, and I have no emotion towards it whatsoever. Nope. Zero. And you do get extremely desensitized. But again, it comes down to men as a whole doing what they have to provide. And don't get me wrong, there are women that work in those professions too, and they're in the same boat somewhat as men. They might be single, they might be married, whatever.
So it's safe to say majority of a man's life, he is basically giving up his happiness
to fulfill his obligation for others.
Yes.
And it's an obligation for others.
And it can't be said for the same for women all the time.
No, women don't do that. If they have a man, then they believe that, in my experience.
As soon as they're unhappy, they're gone.
Yes. If they think they can do better, they're gone. Or if they're unhappy, they're gone.
Yeah. Well, if they can do better, there's your hypergamy setting in.
Or the big thing would be, well, now that you have a decent job that you hate, I don't care that you hate it. It's fine. You keep working it. Now I have the ability to do what I want.
Yeah, even if it's not work at all.
Correct. Or if it's stay home.
Yeah, here's your other big thing there when it comes to happiness. A man will 9 out of 10 times doesn't mind if his woman doesn't work at all or hardly makes any money at all.
Correct.
But a woman generally will not stay with a man that does not make any money at all or does not work at all.
Correct. Like when I first got married and Noah was born, she didn't work. Yeah. She didn't have to work at all. I worked 2 jobs. We wound up getting divorced because I wasn't home.
Yeah, I gave my wife the option all her life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It didn't bother me if she worked or not.
Nope.
As long as everything's taken care of.
Yeah, as long as all the bills are paid, who cares?
Yep.
You don't have to work.
And like I said, I've told you before, I've never worried about money. Never.
Nope. Well, your wife handles all the money.
Well, that and like I said,
which is nice.
I've never looked at statements. I've never looked at stubs. I've just. I just don't put that part of my mind into that aspect because. When it comes to divorce, if it's not infidelity, the next thing is money.
Correct. So
we already established money is not happiness.
No, it's not. So you did not like your job, and how long were you there?
A little over 20 years.
A little over 20 years. And you hated it every day.
Hated it every day.
So you sit back now and look at it. How long have you been retired from there?
Since 2016, probably about 5-6 years now.
Okay. So
A little longer than that.
yeah. So how do you look at it now, being on the outside looking in? Like, how do you view that? Like, your benefits versus your sacrifice. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you feel that you got something out of it and ultimately it was worth it, or do you feel like I hated every second of it?
What I got out of it, what we talked about earlier, I got out security in my later years.
Yeah.
And that's what most people, I mean, these young people work at jobs that have no retirements ever set up. They don't save money. So
They can't afford to.
Yeah. So what are, they have nothing to look forward to when they get older.
No.
At least now, like we said, we got it kind of made because we can go do what we want, but that's only because of the security that we set up. So it'd be harsh to say that it wasn't a good decision, whether you liked it, what you were doing at the time or not.
Correct. That's what I'm getting at. So even though you didn't like it, ultimately it turned out being a good decision
But
for
once
you.
again, it was a sacrifice.
Yeah, well, that's what men do. They sacrifice.
Once again, it was a sacrifice, and I don't think most people sacrifice nowadays.
I don't think they want to. They just want everything
Immediate. Yeah.
But I will say this too, like even your companies nowadays, and I look for like probably even the states and the federal government to get rid of that retirement and just start forcing you to do 401ks, and which I think is crap because 401k is crap.
Yeah. Crashes on you and everything else. I think because it's unsustainable. It's just the rates that they've created.
Yeah, fractional banking, all that stuff. It has destroyed it. 401k was created after the Great Depression to get people to start investing into the stock market. That's the whole reason that it was made, because if people didn't invest in the stock market, we didn't have a stock market back then. And it just kept going.
So when we're talking about happiness still, you have the younger generation. We just said they're not saving. They're not going to probably get retirement.
They probably can't afford to
And
save.
ever since I was younger, the rumor of no Social Security is not going to be there, but we're still lucky it's still there now.
It should. You know what?
So what kind of happiness are they looking for?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I will say this, like when I was young, 21, I never thought about it, ever. I mean, when I was that young, I didn't think about any of that, ever.
No.
Ever.
Nope. And
When I was 21, even when I started working for the state, I didn't think about it. Like I was too busy with what was going on.
Too busy living life.
Living my life, like, you know, regardless of how difficult that may have been, because I worked 2 jobs. So, I mean, let me tell you my schedule, first of all. I can tell you. So I had to drive an hour to work at first.
Yep.
Right?
The Hagerstown thing, right?
Yep. I would get home at 1. And I did this when I was married, too. I would get up at 7 in the morning to go to work. And then there I'd leave at 2, go home, change, go to work. Get home at 1. Right? And then when Noah was little and I was still married, Noah would get up around 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning to get fed. So I would be up until I could get him to lay back down to give her a break so she could actually get some sleep. So I would feed him, and I would go back to bed. I would get to bed at 3, get up at 7 to be at work at 7, and that was my life. And then we wound up getting divorced, and then it was just work.
You're never home.
I was never home. But in return for that, she didn't have to work. She could do whatever she wanted.
And then raise a young child. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
Because, if you had to send that young child off very young to a sitter, how much is that going to cost you?
Oh, dear Lord, it cost you a fortune. It wasn't, well, we thought of that. And what it was is we would wind up making, I think, if she would have went to work and we had someone to pay to watch our son, I think we wound up getting an extra $100 a month. So her whole work hours were worthless.
So what you're saying, though, is at a very early age, you had 2 unhappy people in your relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's where it spiraled downhill.
Correct.
So nowadays, it'd probably be best for the younger generation that know they're going to be struggling with money, struggling with everything else, that the thing is to get rid of toxic people out of your life.
Yep.
Get rid of that drama. Try to keep a clear
Correct.
head. Try
I
to
agree.
keep a clear head. And focus on your relationships.
I agree with that.
That's about what else do you have left?
You don't.
You're going to sit in the basement and play video games?
No. Well, they do.
I mean, that's your,
That's what they do.
Drugs and video games.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Drugs and video games.
But I do think that You can learn a lot. So like a good example is like I was never told that by another man until I started working around other men.
Yeah.
Like my father never told me any of this. Like either that or he didn't know. Like his generation was all just work,
And that's
save,
what
save, 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 work,
that's
work,
what it
work, work,
was.
work, save, 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 save.
Right.
Where our generation came out, and I think we were a little bit more self-aware of what was going on and what was happening. But we weren't at the time. But I will say that as we got older, like we are now, we try to pass that information and what we learned on to our kids.
But what made our fathers different than everybody else is they were the first of the post-World War II generation.
Yes.
Prior to World War II, everything's different.
Yes, they were.
All lifestyles changed after World War II.
Because of the dollar.
Yes.
The dollar became the world
Yes.
currency. And they lived, how do you put it? They lived amazing lives.
Yes.
Financially. Where, you know, you could work full time, your wife could stay home, you could have a house, a car, go on vacation.
A car in every garage, chicken in every pot.
Right, you could have all of those things. And then that went away for our generation. So I do think that it's important that we pass on what we've learned, at least as men, to our boys. Because if they don't, they're going to be like us, and just blindsided by everything. Because I was blindsided by everything.
Well, and it comes back to the pursuit of happiness.
You know, and I will say this, my dad would tell me stuff like, you need to do this and this, and I just wouldn't pay attention. I'd be like, nah, I'm 20-some years old. 20, what do I need to know that for?
It took me 50 years to realize what happiness is.
Yeah, me too. It took me 48.
Yeah,
Actually, about 45.
Yeah, well, you might as well say it takes you almost to get 50 years old.
Yeah. My dad told me, and he said this, and I agree with this. He said, men don't grow up until they're 40.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? You're right. I can't say you're not right. You are 100% right. Like, men do not grow up until they're 40 years old. Doesn't matter if, like me, I had a kid and working 2 jobs, and he's right. You do not grow up until you're 40.
And this is one thing I say. It's not that reality hits. I say it's mortality that hits. Because now you realize you're not that young person that, you know, you can't live through everything.
No, you're not invincible.
Yes.
Because
that's what wears off.
Yeah.
So it's not reality. I think it's mortality. You're certain, and that comes back to dying alone.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think you're 100% right. I do think that
you're not that immortal being.
No. Yeah.
With your Honda crotch rocket. And,
yeah. Yeah. You're right.
You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though I have one.
I have one too.
I still have one.
You know, I mean.
But I mean, I don't run it hard. I run it like a little bike. You know, it's never been over the speed limit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I had 2 real close incidents with people, you know, pulling out in front of me, and I'm done.
Yeah, I've had that. And that's why I don't drive it a lot.
Yep.
I drive it, like I wait till the roads are all clear, the salt's all gone. Like June, I'll pull it out. And I'll be like, all right, I'll drive a little bit now. But I agree with you. Especially like when I was, like, I look at it like if I go out, like I try to watch my actions that they don't interfere with the other people in my life. Meaning I'm not trying to put myself in a position where something could severely happen to me that would affect the other people in my life just financially.
Well, yes.
And that's like my son.
That's the mortality aspect of it. If something happened to me right now, I have people that depend on me.
Yes.
And you'll always have it as a man.
Correct. Where, you're 100% right. I think this is a good conversation because this will be good for our kids to watch.
We can actually continue this on, you know, some other time. And
yeah, we can keep going with that.
Yeah.
Because this is a long conversation, but I agree with you. So happiness, we can sum it up real quick. Happiness is
relationships.
Relationships and experiences.
It's not money.
It's not money.
It's not material things.
Nope.
And both of those as experiences and relationships are built on health.
Yes. Your health is extremely important. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that would be to find a job that you can...
A job that secures you later in life because you'll not be young. Before you know it, you've aged.
Yes,
but
correct.
you don't notice it because your mind's not aging.
Correct.
One day you look in that mirror and you're old.
Yeah, because your mind will still feel like you're 28 years old.
Correct.
And that's just how it is. I mean, maybe it's a cruel joke, or maybe it's done divine.
I think it's more of a man testosterone thing.
Yeah,
actually,
you could be right.
You know,
but
as long as you got that hormone still going, you still feel young. You know.
Oh, you do. And if you don't have it, they'll give it to you.
Correct. There you go.
You know what I mean? They
Nowadays,
will.
huh?
Yeah, they'll give it to you. Here you go. Take this. Put this on. Take a shot.
I mean, they say testosterone is lower now than it ever was. I mean, you go back to the 1800s. I doubt real seriously they had low testosterone levels working in the fields.
Oh, no. They didn't.
Yeah, from sun up to sundown.
Yeah, no. Well, we got fat and lazy where they were never fat, you know?
Yeah.
Ever. They were just busting it out 10, 12 hours a day every day. Right? That's the truth, though.
Sun up to sundown.
Yeah, they were.
Daylight savings time never affected them.
We got all these problems because we got physically inactive.
That's 100% true.
You know, I believe that.
And there's your health again.
An idle man is a dangerous man.
There's your health again, though.
You know, he starts going down the wrong way. I agree with that.
Oh, we've seen that many times.
We have.